What is up, Equinox? We are here today with Dr. Katina Manning for our weekly live Q&A. Again, these are hopping Wednesdays, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And again, as always, if you have questions that you want us to go through and you won't be able to make the live, leave them as comments. And so we did have a few people ask some questions in preparation. But Katina, this is your debut. Welcome.
This is so exciting to be invited to this group. I hope so many people join. And the reason why is it's helping me. In just the few weeks that I've been with this group, I can see a difference in me. The way I practice, the way I work with my associates and my staff, and it's helping me to dream a higher level of who I am. And so thank you. I want to say that for Equinox. And so it's really nice to be here. Thanks.
It's freaking awesome to have you here, and I agree. I've had like a near record day every Monday since we've started, and Monday's my big service day. I start usually about 4:30 in the morning, and I don't stop until I get home after our Equinox Lead Guides call about 9:30 p.m. So it's a big day for me, but we've been breaking records in office almost every single Monday since we've started. So it's in the flow, and definitely feeling inspired by all of those that have been involved, for all of those that are contributing, and it's definitely nourishing me in some very unique ways as well. I want to start because there might be some people in here that are not familiar with your work. After we get that done, I did have an opportunity to create what we call like a mastery showcase on Katina, which was a 7-minute video that turned out really well. I think it had over 35,000 views on YouTube. I think it's got about 70,000 videos. 67,000 videos on YouTube, 35,000 on Facebook. So she's doing pretty well. But I just want to talk a little bit about my personal experience with Katina, so that all of y'all maybe can at least hear this from me. So Katina, I first met at BGI. I don't know if you remember this. Met you at BGI 3.
Oh, I totally do.
Okay, in Naperville. Yes. So I had the opportunity to do BGI 1, 2, and 3 with Dr. Sue Brown, which I feel like is just an incredible blessing, and just a couple years before she passed. And we had BGI 3 in Naperville, and that was the first time I got exposed to whatever you want to call the energy that is Katina, because it is one of the most dynamic and powerful energies and loving and compassionate energies I've ever been around. But she was working with me, I think it was day 2, and there was just an adjusting flow session happening, and this is the first time I experienced the over-the-knee adjustment. And so she's hooking up all of these different correlates and the geometry, and then boom, over the knee, just like that.
Ooh, yeah,
and I just remembered that I hadn't felt this in years. And so I believe it was also the first emotional reaction I had to an adjustment. And I started tearing up, and I didn't know why I was crying. Why am I crying? I'm a grown man. It's just like, what is this? And but the floodgates opened. I started to experience more of myself. I didn't even realize that I had numbed that part of myself. And then did an interview, and then have brought you into the Bay Area to help teach some courses. And now we have this lovely relationship. Here we are, a few years later. And I know, especially for my wife, just get so much love in our family. Just get so much love from Katina. So every time we're around, we feel like it's the right time, and almost like a fairy godmother. And I feel like she's like the fairy godmother of Equinox here. And so feeling definitely blessed to have her here and have her contribution. And it's been so awesome to see how she's already been communicating with the lead guys in our calls. And bunch of wisdom. Do you want to do just maybe a brief introduction of yourself too? Kind of like your journey, maybe keep within 2 minutes or so, to where you're at right now and where you practice.
My journey. Okay. So about 25, 30 years, I'm here in this little ocean town called Duxbury, and I've allowed myself to be a magnet. And I've allowed myself to hope and dream and be a visionary. And so many of the things that I've dreamed about and wrote about and said, this would be wonderful, and work towards, they're all looping through after these 30 years. Living on the ocean. I've got a wonderful home and husband and family and daughter and son-in-law, brand new son-in-law, and just amazing healers come through here all the time. And a lot of people come by and they stay for a week or stay for 6 months, like down the street though, and do a lot of big transformational work, I think is what it's all about. And when you were talking about this whole butterfly interaction that happened in your chest,
yes,
this is what the sacred geometry does, and it allows us as we're sending forces and waves through the body. So imagine this almost like the sphenoid bone, your butterfly, your heart, this chakra, all that stuff. You got the voice one, and then you got the big one in the head that goes this way and that way. So when I went whoa through here, sent that wave, I was doing the same wave to every single one of your volumes. That's why you went humongous. You were stapled before, and then you went woo, and then the other pieces opened up.
Yep.
So it was.
Which, I understand that this is, Equinox is designed mainly for business principles and life principles. And we also got to understand, that the adjustment is our product, right? I mean, ultimately, it's our service, and that is what we're offering. So, I do want you to touch on this a little bit on the artistry and on the importance of the connection, because Sue Brown definitely offered a very unique perspective on subluxation, on chiropractic, on the adjustment, on the connection, and you have continued this work in such a beautiful way, and also obviously in your own creative way have found amazing ways to teach people how to connect with people. And it's in that, as we evolve our practice systems, also the evolution of care, and in language. And so I'd like to touch a little bit on even I know this is maybe a side-ish of the conversation, but we have so much wealth and mastery in your artistry. I think it's important to bring up in this moment is, what have you seen transition and evolution in regards to your care, and how is that a reflection of your ability to communicate the message? Meaning, like, as you have gotten more certain in your delivery and in your artistry and in your ability to create transformation within others, or to hold space for transformation to occur, how has that then kind of filtered down and flowed down to now your ability to communicate what it is that you do with certainty and then lead people into care?
So I think there's kind of 3 parts to what I have to do. I've got to have a 3-part relationship. I'm going to have a relationship with me, which is my body, mind, and spirit. Then I'm going to have a relationship with them. So how I see them, view them, scan them. It might be a person in a bar that needs help. And then we're going to have us a relationship. So there's 3 parts that in having a new patient, let's say, and if I want them as a new patient, and connect to them, I first have to connect to myself and feel good about myself. Okay, so that's going to be home. That's going to be home ground. And then I might be at the grocery store. And I just trust it in prayer, and then God will always drop somebody in my hand where, I don't know, the lady's trying to pull the carriage out, and I'll say something, and I might just touch her hand very lightly. And in the touching her hand and smiling and saying 2 words, I become safe with that person. And I'll always look in their eyes straight on, and always smile and be a pillar of health, so that anytime somebody's going to meet me, they want what I have. They want my tone, my flavor, my deliciousness. I offer. What I'm doing is I'm offering myself. And so who we are and how we present in our energy is most important.
I agree.
I tell my students, I says, when Caesar, the dog trainer, he always has a dog who's very grounded, who's very peaceful and safe. Okay, and all the junk can come at him, and he just, no big deal, he or she. So we're to be like that dog. We got to be safe and grounded. And the handicapped children, the old people, the people in need, anyone who feels like they can be safe with somebody, they come to us.
Yes.
Because the thing that's going on, we're becoming more and more unsafe as a humanity.
Yes.
The vibration is loud. Perfect example. The morning of 9/11, I'm touching people. I'm going, are you in an anniversary of someone's death? Are you going to a funeral? This questioning went on all morning. Then around 11 o'clock, someone runs in and says, oh, Katina, this happened. A few months later, 3 to 6 months, I forget. It was when we bombed them back. Okay. One of my psychic ladies, she's on the table, a big woman. She turns around and she goes, Katina, every time you touch me, I feel your worry. What is it? And I says, I'm getting a lot of children with epilepsy. I says, I touch their systems and it's like, and the root is from outside that's bothering them. So a couple passes later, you know how my office works. I'm touching people and they're harmonizing. She says, when did that happen? And I told her the time a couple months ago. She says, that's when we Americans returned the hateful act. And when we returned the hateful act, that created such a disharmony. So that ugliness, if you want to call it, as a nice term, it's on our people. And our people are much more buckled, collapsed, anxiety. I can't go to school. It's too much expectations. Another study. I just heard the other day that only 7% of our children are going to be born with good, healthy bacteria. That means much more mental illness and all kinds of illnesses.
Right. All right. I'm going to bring this one back in. You're incredible. You went flying, so I gotta be the anchor. This is the equilibrium, right? This is the equinox. And so, important things to pull away from Katina's flow right there is that there is the concept of me and then they and then us. Now, Kenneth Wilber, who's done a lot of integrative psychology, integrative philosophy, and I believe he has like the integral theory, would be a great reference of study. And there's actually a small book that he does. He does it really well because most of his books are pretty big. But what he talks about is like being egocentric versus ethnocentric versus world-centric. So there is an evolution of consciousness of moving from I only think about I versus I can think about they and their needs, right? So it's my needs, and then their needs, and then our needs. In the terms of nonviolent communication, which is presented by Marshall Rosenberg, which, you know, my biggest mentor in that work is actually Dr. Lance von Stade, which we do have a surprise for you coming up very soon, is one of the principles of that is I value my own needs as much as the needs of others. Again, coming back to the they and the are and the we. Now, the importance piece in that, and Katina would say, what is from a value perspective? Now, often if you talked about, you know, this could even be an exercise. When you look at your own practice, where is the priority in service and or you could say value? Meaning that there's some people that are very worried about other. Now, there's a difference between worrying about other and then valuing others' needs. Meaning that if I'm in practice right now and I'm constantly worried about the potential, the potential perspective of a practice member, or the potential worry about the flow, worry about I'm running behind, or worry about versus I'm here, I stand in my strength and in my value. And I also value their needs, and then I make calculated decisions or purpose-driven actions to help meet their needs. That's much different, right? And so that was the piece. Now, another piece that she went on to go ahead and talk about is being sensitive to cycles and seasons that are bigger than you, which is meaning like there can be stuff that that's happening in your practice. And again, we haven't really took it this far within Equinox yet, but we can drop a little dose in right now, that there will be cycles and seasons in your practice that are very relative to you, could be very relative to your family, could be very relative just to your practice, and it can expand to community, to city, to state, to country, to world. And so what Katina was talking about is when certain world events were going on, they were having creating certain relationships, behaviors, actions, or non-action in practice. On a bigger scale, this is also within astrology, universe, right? And so they'll get to a point where you know the practice is not something in the practice cycle, it's not something in self cycle, it's not something in community cycle. This is actually, I bet you something's in fucking retrograde, right? or whatever it is. There's meteor showers happening. And this is just the levels of continually expanding awareness. With all that said, Katina, you're freaking beautiful. I'm glad you're on here. We're gonna root it in with some questions. By the way, if you're on here, I see that there are people on here, and you have any questions, let us know. Again, this is open to business, to your practice, and also to life fulfillment. So we want to hit all the basic needs. But if you got some real deal business needs that we need to work through, let's get it on. Again, we usually go about 30 minutes. We already have about 17 minutes in, so let's move. So Adrian, who I believe is from Europe as well. You've met Adrian before, right?
Yes.
Cool. So Adrian's also involved in some of our other groups with Kyle's Training Culture, so it's so cool to see him in here, and he's always very insightful. And English is not even his first language, and yet he takes the time to put things forward. So his first question is, he says, on the topic of referral, I was thinking about doing a coffee talk at some local bars. Do you have any experience with that, and how did you start? What is the process involved? Da 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 da. I have done this. Do you have any experience in this?
No, not doing that. I've done a school, and then it took off.
Okay. So let me start with answering his question, and then if you want to take a minute or so to talk about the school and what was expected. All right, Equinox, we're back. We lost Katina from her internet. However, I was able to bring her on with a phone call, and the mic. She's calling. Hold on, we might be able to do this.
I found you. Just keep pressing buttons. That's all you got to do.
You're crazy. All right, hold on. Let me see if I can bring you back on here. All right, there you go. All right, we're good. Welcome back, Katina.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't know if I have you.
Yeah, I got you.
See you.
Yeah, we're back. Okay. So, all right. So I'm going to continue the last conversation that we were having. We should be in the right group. Yes, everything should be cool. Alrighty, so the last thing we were talking about is the coffee, potentially doing like some coffee bars and recommendations. And my biggest recommendation is creating an awesome brochure and then getting the coffee shop to promote it. And so that would be the ideal because, okay, so we got Julia. Julia's on as well. Good. So, okay, I think we restarted. I think we're okay. We had just a momentary little lapse in connection here, but we're back. So the recommendation for doing coffee spot is if you can link up with a cafe or coffee shop and set up some flyers. And what you can do is you can offer free coffee. Now, the good thing about coffee is a lot cheaper than offering somebody dinner. Right, so yes. The other popular thing is doing dinners. However, we used to do dinners, and we used to do actually pretty damn successful at dinners. We average actually usually selling more initial assessments than there were people that were non-patients there. So say we had 15 non-patients, we would average 16, 17, 18 new patient exams, which is great. So we did really well with them, but I was spending $600 per event. So versus if you do coffee. Say, you work out a deal with the coffee shop and you say, yo, can I, do $1.50, $2 per coffee? And you say it's even 20 people, that's only $40, right? So the cost ratio is way better for the expense of actually doing the event. My biggest suggestion would be to go ahead and work out educating. So hopefully maybe you're taking care of some of the baristas there, or you're taking care of the coffee shop owner, but to educate them how to properly tell people about the upcoming event, getting people to sign up and register. It's one thing to have a flyer there, but if they can make some type of commitment, if they can even send a number, that way you can send them a follow-up email, so you have those text services now that will capture people's information. And so you can have reminders, but if they're willing to give their information, maybe they wouldn't want it on a sign-up sheet to give their number or email address, because then it's all right there. But if there's a way that they could email to register, and maybe you only do like a limited amount of spots. So say you do 10, but you'll buy them a pastry and a coffee, right? And then you get your people there. I would recommend that your talk go anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes, and then allow for a Q&A. So and that could be the thing, is like if you have any questions regarding any condition really that you're experiencing, there's a doc going to be here, going to chill, have coffee with you, sit down, do a short presentation on what it is, what is chiropractic, or you could talk about some other health option, and then from there allow for a Q&A. So in total, for people, and so I would do the talk, I would allow the opportunity, and then from there I would continue on to Q&A. Right, so one of the best ways that I found to present opportunity to start care is usually through story. So anytime we use story, we bypass the prefrontal cortex and enter into the limbic system, which or more subconscious mind, which means that we don't have to get the logical agreement. So versus a lot of people are using that prefrontal cortex to filter out information, right? And to usually actually as a boundary in. And so by using story, you can bypass that whole process, especially when you can elicit emotion. And so I have a few different stories. It can be joy as much as it can be sadness. But, for me, something that really touches them in the heart space. Once you've touched them in the heart space, now it's like, now they understand your why. Now they understand your purpose. And again, people care more about why you do what you do than what you do. And so, and they're more likely to buy with feeling than they are with logic. They buy with feeling, right? And then they confirm their buying with logic. And so one of the things I've done is using storyline, and then using the storyline to allow it to enter into an offer. One of the lines I was using when I was doing the dinner talks is, selfies are real popular right now, right? So taking selfies. One of the most important selfies that I could imagine is getting a selfie of your nerve system, right? So that self-analysis because our nerve system is how we perceive the world. And some of the story, I'll give you a little bit. Some of the storyline that I would use is, I can think of little else that is more important of feeling. See, a lot of people think that chiropractic is designed to make you feel better. I say chiropractic is designed to make you feel.
Yes.
And here's the beautiful thing about feeling. And then I'd give a story about, how much numbing did for me. Because here's the truth. We can all take a lot of things to feel really good. I can think of quite a few. We can take a couple bumps of cocaine. You could load up with some Norcos and some Vicodins. You could take some Xanax. You could take some Percocet. You could take a Klonopin. You could take a few, multiple booze and wine. You could smoke some weed. You could do some peyote. You could do a lot of things to feel whatever the fuck you want to feel. But however, how much are you allowing yourself to feel? Because here's the truth. When I started getting adjusted, I don't know about y'all. When I first started getting adjusted, I felt worse. And the reason I felt worse because I was actually feeling the shit that I've been trying to numb and run away from for so long. But that running away and putting the shit back in the closet and numbing and not actually wanting to do the real work of healing, which is realizing your wholeness, had me depressed, had me in mental dis-ease, had me in suffering. And so from a state of feeling, I was actually able to understand what my needs are. The more I am able to understand what my needs are, the better I can develop strategies to get my needs met. If I don't understand what my needs are, then I'm constantly victim to life instead of working and moving with life. And so how many of you want to perceive and feel?
Yes.
Because that's what this shit's about. So this is the best selfie you could ever take of yourself, is understanding, because your nerve system is how you perceive the entire world, both internally and externally. That we perceive the world through our senses.
Yes.
And so if you have misperception, again, you don't understand what your needs are, and you'll constantly be victim to life. You guys want to be victim to life? Or do you want to move with life? Do you want to champion life? Do you want to be a co-leader in life? So what I'm offering you is an opportunity. This opportunity is usually $180 to come in for your initial assessment, because we're going to be doing the most detailed functional assessment that you've ever had. And so when we do these events, we do them for $60. That's to help bless the community, to have an opportunity to receive what I feel like is one of the most powerful healing assets in the world. So who here wants to take a selfie? Right?
Me, please.
me. So I'm seeing a bunch of stuff drop in now. So that is typically the reason I dropped that is that is kind of how I've transitioned people to the cell, right, or to the start of getting this life transformational chiropractic care. And like I said, for recommendation for the question that came through on how to set it up is I would be in relationship with owner and baristas. I would teach them the importance of why I'm doing what I'm doing. I would get them to promote to people there, and then you could offer a coffee and pastry. I would keep it small. I would try to keep it 10 people or less. If you sell it out, then they're actually, so again, people act on scarcity, right? And so if you say there's only 10, but in this 10, I'm going to buy you, your breakfast sandwich and whatever, it's going to, again, only 10, that's $100, even if it's $10 per person. You could probably work it down to $7 a person or $6 a person, whatever. You can give the owner a complimentary assessment, right? And then maybe he just covers the food because he thinks it's cool for business. Who knows, right? But that would be my suggestion. And then, Katina, you were talking about in school, you did something in the schools that was effective. You want to share what was effective with the schools there?
Our Elena was 3 or 4 years old, and we signed her up for Montessori school. That fall, they asked all the doctors to do a panel, and there were 5 different people and myself. I was the last speaker. I spoke about stress, and I took them on a vision, and they got to feel what stress feels like, and then I took them out of the stress and talked about how it affects our communication system, our nervous system, and how important it is, and this is what chiropractic is. After the talk,
Katina, one second. Your eyeballs are right in. You can back up a little bit. And around. Okay, keep going.
I can't see in it. That's fine. Okay, so where are we? So the talk. After the talk, it was great because there was like 80 people there. So many people came up to me afterwards and said, "Oh, can I be your patient? You can help me with my anxiety, and my kid is stressed out, and this, that, and the other, and this, that, and the other." And I felt what you felt, because you felt that, and you made me feel it in my body, and now, so you can feel that, and you can help me with it. I'm with you. Feel it. They have to feel.
Have to feel
You make them feel it, whether it's your eyes, your touch, your words, feel it.
Yes.
Acknowledgement
is the first step to healing. All right, so Julia has another question here. How can you address underlying motions of your practice members, i.e. my intuitive reading of emotions, presentation of physical element, and those emotional manifestations without taking a bunch of time during the office visit? I'll get started with this one if it's okay.
Yeah.
And Katina's got a high level of sensitivity, awareness, and psychic abilities as well. And what you'll find is I believe that there is an opening for many people to step into this. As a quick side note, psychic abilities, I don't believe, is just our talents. Talents you're born with. Psychic abilities are skills that can be developed, and I know this because I was not born with what I consider psychic abilities, and yet there's some crazy-ass shit I can do now. So, with that said, for those that are sensitive, or you call them HSP, the highly sensitive people, or the high empaths, or those that, again, are just developing sensual awareness outside of the limited physical 5 senses, when you pick up hits on emotion, remember, it's not our job to fix anything. What we can do, though, is provide environments where people can reflect, listen, acknowledge self and the bigness of self so that they can transition into healing and transformation themselves. Now, a way that can be done is with simple statements, and usually in the form of question, right? So it's things that allow for introspection, things that allow for exploration. So, and I believe even Adrian mentioned this earlier, who had some of our first questions. What is this here? What are you feeling here? I wonder. So they say, "Oh yeah, I got a lot of this stuff going on here." I wonder why that is. And even just a change in tone, right? A change in tone will take it out of the physical and allow for a deeper level of introspection. Of course, if you're getting direct hits on emotion, and this can be trained, I taught a seminar called The Space Between, which is all about emotional mastery and how you can train to actually listen to the depths of the most dominating emotion, because it does have a tone, because it does have a vibration, because every emotion will affect the chemicals or the neurochemicals that are associated with hormones, and those hormones will cause change in physiology. And if you can pick up the change in physiology, then you can detect this stuff. And I'll change it. The change in physiology is a vibration. So, But if you're saying there's sadness here, at a higher level, you can also know when, why, right? So is this recent sadness, or is this a trigger from past sadness, and what age? And this shit goes deep as you want to take it. But a strategy can be, and we talked about this also in recognizing needs. If somebody is experiencing sadness, one with a simple aspect is they're most likely experiencing something and thinking of the past. So as a redirector, we could say, I'm feeling that there's some depth of emotion here, and something that we're holding on to. And I want you to know that it's okay to let it go, and it's okay to be here now.
And breathe.
And breathe.
And breathing. Oh, yeah.
Breath is one of our greatest connectors to now. Becoming in spirit, right? That's why we inspire. So to come back to this moment. And so it doesn't have to be counseling, right? It can be suggestion. It can be a question. It could be, to me, it's like I'm planting a seed, or I'm a catalyst for reflection, and I'm a sacred mirror so that they can see themselves and discover themselves. What do you have on that?
On the same note, I'll put them in a body position that actually takes them on that journey more. I might be doing a cervical check, and it's a cervical legs balance out over to one side. It's usually hurts more, so I'll make them stay there, and I'll have them I might say a little quick story of let yourself be an eagle flying over many mountains. Off in the distance are many past yesterdays. Go, fly over them. Go visit them. Gather all the wisdoms that you have touched. Thank them and tell them, I don't live here anymore. And stay there and breathe that till the journey moves. So they might have to be laying in some position that tracks that information through their body. Mm-hmm. That took what? 30, not even 10 seconds, but it keeps them involved because they have to do something towards their healing. And so giving them a little encouragement of over there. Woohoo!
And here's some upper level stuff, and I love that, because the tendency is, oh, you're feeling this, right? And this is the tendency for most practices. You're feeling this. How can I help you not feel this?
That's stupid. That's stupid.
That's medicine, right? I mean, that's treatment. That's the covering up, because people can use chiropractic like they use medicine, and it's very interesting. And what you just said was, how can I help you discover more of this? Oh, you don't like this. Oh, this is discomfort. This is painful. How can I allow you to be in a position where you could feel that more?
Yes.
Counterintuitive.
Yes, and you can untangle it. You can. If that chicken doesn't push out the egg, it's going to die. It's as simple as that. You know? They got to push through, and they want us to go, oh, take care of me, help me. Oh, what is it? Oh, is it this? Is it that? Is it this? Even listen to the questioning. The vibration goes up to here. Whereas you got to keep it down low in that solar plexus when we're sending them on these little mini journeys, because we're lining them up, and then we're connecting a depth of information, past, present, future, all through their breath.
Yes.
And we have a ton of source in our hands and wisdom. Talk about something about selling. Talk about something that excited you. You know what happened this week? A little kid who lays down her tummy, can't do a push-up. He got up on all fours and he stood up. Mm-hmm. I was so excited. So when someone says to you, hi, how are you? Say, I am so excited. You know what happened today? Mm-hmm. And
great transition.
They get happy.
Great transitional statement. How are you today? To use the stories of healing in your practice to transition, to tell, so that how do you educate? Natural transitions, just like that. Using, and then relevance, you'll always have more passion about. And so, meaning that when something is happening currently, versus older story, usually when it loses relevance, it sometimes loses its vibrational power. And so if you can use the excitement or the joy or whatever it is to bring people back to healing stories within chiropractic, talk about a great referral mechanism as well, right? That's how I redirect conversations that are centered on healing and chiropractic. It's relevant, so now it has more power. And now they're also getting to hear testament, but they're hearing testament through my excitement. So it's not, let me, and so it's not like me starting a conversation out of nowhere. You want to hear something really interesting that happened this week? No, it's like, well, how are you doing? I'm freaking, blown wide open right now. My heart is overwhelmed because I just had a practice member that da-da-da-da-da-da-da, right? And it's real, it's relevant, it's authentic, it's creating emotion, again, which bypasses prefrontal cortex. Now they're feeling inspired. Oh shit, I got a friend that, has a similar issue. Da-da-da-da, boom, boom, boom. Let's refer them in. All right, let's move on. For testimonials, what are your main points that you like to be written down by practice members? Do you have any formula that you prefer, Katina?
I have no testimonials. I have nothing written down other than soap notes for them. And then I have I don't do any advertising.
So and this is why Katina is part of this group, just like we all are, because she's noticing where she can get better, just how I've noticed where I can get better. But so for testimonials and healing stories, I think, they can be so we have a whole testimonial book at the front. What we've done is we've taken our Yelp reviews and printed them out, and then there's a folder. So when people are waiting to fill out their paperwork, if they got any wait time, now they get to go through all of the healing stories that have come into our practice. And if you want to talk about, future pacing and planting seeds, there's a mental component to this healing process, right? One big part of it's commitment. Another one is certainty. And so a piece of this is communicating certainty that you believe in what you are offering, but they also have to join and recreate their own self-image from redirection in the space that you hold in your office. So why I believe, treatment models often aren't very effective is because they often focus on exactly what's wrong with the person. Let's just talk about laws of manifestation and laws of attraction. The more we focus on what we don't want, the more we get what we don't want. Versus the more we hold space for what's possible and what we can step into. And that's why, come first adjustment, and one of the things I tell people before they get their first adjustment is, hey, listen, I may not always ask you about what's wrong with you. It doesn't mean I don't care about you. But I got my own form of analysis, and to be honest with you, I want to be focused on what's right with you and hold space for what we can step into. So in regards to the testimony, I think the testimonials are important. I love, I posted it yesterday, Free Spirit Chiropractic and what they're doing. Now they're taking image of person because, again, it allows for a greater connection. People are connected to people, especially faces. There's a few recommendations I would give on to plus that. If you got forward facing, it's always more engaging. So if you can get your people to look at the camera, would be a little bit more powerful. But getting image plus testimony or a blurb of a powerful story that again, if it works on the emotional scale, even better. But typically, you want to tell stories of transformation, meaning what is it that they came in with and what changed? So I was unable to do this, or this was my life before and this is my life now. And the more that you can carry the image of what is possible, that's also going to allow space for other practice members to step into. So they're going to allow themselves, well, if that's possible for them, why is it not possible for me? So there are people that will create templates for how they want people to fill that out, and that is something that you could investigate, for your own practice. Tell a little bit about why you. So I usually say, tell a little bit why you came in, what brought you in. And what changed, and maybe what changed that you weren't expecting. Those are kind of like the standards, right? So what brought you in? What were you experiencing? What are you experiencing now? And what maybe changed that you weren't even expecting? So what was your we call side benefits, right? So in medicine, you usually got side effects. In chiropractic, we got side benefits. So that would be my big three to capture. For Devin Verona, she says, and this will be the last one. We're going about 45 minutes now. We're about at that time frame. Julia, it's so good to have you on here. So she says, why do you believe people currently refer to you? So this is going back on to what we had from week 3, now moving into week 4, which, by the way, for those that are on, our referral packets, PDFs, will be posted today, for example, so that everybody else can help create their referral packets. And the goal is that we are offering those to our community starting next week and keeping track of our numbers of doing that. But she says, why do people currently refer to you? What's the X factor in your chiropractic presence? Katina.
Whoa, hit me with that again. That was a very detailed question.
Why do people refer to you, and what is your X factor?
My X factor is the experience that they have with me. So that's in them. They have an emotional experience. They have a physical change. They get up and they stand and they go, I can walk again. And these little aha moments are perfect opportunities to go, you love how you feel? Give this loving packet to someone that you love. Let them feel the same. And you take their excitement and you ride with it. And so that works for referral. What else? The X factor. It's the experience. And even if I haven't adjusted them yet, I want them to have an experience with me wherever I am, so that they got to remember me. They might not come in this week, this month, but they come in over here somewhere. They'll hear it. I can't tell you how many people go, I've heard your name several times. I'm so glad I'm finally here. So make that your biggest impact. Every time you meet somebody, you meet them with pure love and pure invitation.
Yes.
So that's the X. That's the
I
X.
want to add to your X factor from, I think this is probably good for you too, and probably be good for me if you want to add to my X factor. You are one of the greatest sources of unconditional love and compassion that I've ever been, and joy. So,
wow, that's big.
I would say you carry a childlike joy and play, and you have this incredible, like, it just seems depth and infinite depth of love. And so from being around you, it always feels like, just like if you're around a puppy or around a baby, that they just give you joy and love, right? And then, like, as an adult, it always seems like there's always some, like, are they trying to manipulate me? What do they really, so they want to do this, but what do they want? No, what do you really want type thing? But for you, it always seems pure. Like if you are serving and you're offering your wisdom or whatever, it's pure. And it's like, this is because I want to give to you. And I love you. So it just seems like a deep sense of unconditional love and joy.
That's our source. That's what we come from. That's the harmony that we're all connecting to and are connected to. So,
yes.
And we chiropractors, we're literally finding the harmony in people's body and helping them reconnect to their beautiful music within. So you talk about this bright light that you feel inside of me. You can't feel it and see it unless it's already inside of you. We're mirrors together.
Right.
So together we make high beams. And basic brain neurology. You got the two places in your brain. I got pain, I got pleasure. And if everything I go, ooh, pain, oh, that was lousy. I get a big groove in my head over here. If I go, oh, that was interesting. Ooh, that was fun. Woo, that becomes my main pathway, my main entrance, so that my pain and pleasure zones in my brain, I don't stimulate this one. I stimulate this one. And that becomes my entrance for information.
Yes.
So it's a choice. It's definitely a choice. Sometimes, I don't know, someone cuts you off and you go, ooh, and you spill your coffee all over yourself and you go, oh man, I hope God, bless that guy. I hope he gets to where he's safely got to go. So I take the shit energy and I turn it and use it as manure, because I do think we are in a spiritual battle, and the more we flip the crap and turn it back into light, it's just going to keep magnifying. So that's what you see and feel. And
yes,
it's so nice to magnify it together.
I agree. For me, I figured when I entered chiropractic school, back to the question is, why do I think people refer to me? I knew that to build a practice, I'd have a great product. And I had to be able to communicate the product. And so ultimately, I think two of the things that I do pretty damn well is I deliver an amazing adjustment or hold space for an amazing adjustment to occur, and I can communicate what I do pretty well. And so those are the two big things. And I would say the X factor is the transmission of those two things, which is basically who I be. And meaning that you can do the right maneuvers, right? That's the mechanistic side. And you can have the right words. But ultimately, life is the expression of tone. So it's the depth of the vibration that it carries. And that comes from who you are. How much work have you done to clear your own interferences? And that's not just on a physical subluxation level. I'm not saying I get adjusted once a week. I'm talking about how much have you healed yourself? How much have you allowed yourself to continually discover and transform and become a better version of yourself every single day? And what I've found is that work's not always pleasurable. The work is often painful. However, it becomes necessary to continue to shed the layers of what is not you. The potentially previous experiences that have created traumatic experiences that have caused certain reactions and or misperceptions. And so the more that we can get clear on who we really be from the continual reconnection to spirit, the more then we can connect to the depth of who we are and who we be. Now when we communicate with something different. Now I communicate from the depths of my purpose and the depths of my why. And why this shit matters. And people feel that. They feel the command. They feel the influence. And they want to be around it. Just like Katina said, they want to be around it because it's authentic. It's real. It's not some scripted bullshit. It's like when this person talks, they're talking because they've done a lot of work and really asking the questions that nobody else want to ask. Because I can give you the answers. But you have to discover the depth of what they mean to you. That means you need to question them. And you need to continue to mold it into your expression. But if you just take the information and then just try to refilter it, it ain't you. So take it, assimilate, adapt, listen, readapt, remold, ask deeper questions, shed, express, re-express. And the process never stops. So ultimately, I think the X factor is the commitment to always know that there's more, that there's deeper layers, and to put myself in groups and situations where I allow myself to fail, where I allow myself to be wrong, where I allow myself to know, that I can get better, and that's avoiding dogmatic, hyper masculinity, to be honest. All right, let's move forward. Most influential mentor in chiropractic technique or art, from Devin Vrana.
Sue Brown. Sue Brown, pretty much for me, what she did, she gave me a language of why my hands do what they do. And what I believe it's literally God's blueprint of his breath moving through the body. And so we're starting out with perfect harmony, and then things happen. They buckle, they twist, they buckle, they twist, they whatever, they collapse. And then we get these dissonances in the person. Sue Brown gave us a blueprint of how to look at it. We all do it. I watch chiropractors from all over the world, and the hands naturally move through the geometry. Body workers, same thing. We are all connected to the disharmony and the harmonies, and chasing the harmonies. It gets exciting. So she's been one of my greatest mentors. Yes.
For myself, I have a lot of influences from being around amazing people. My biggest influence early on was Arnaud Bernier. And that's the one that turned me on to the importance of training and to look at as the role of a chiropractor as a professional athlete. And so to train your art as a professional athlete would train their sport. And so that has made a radical difference, I believe, in my current expression. as influences, there's a long list, and Katina's on there. But, Katina Manning, Jay Kamarick, John Martinez and I were schooled together, and he turned me on to Thurman Fleet. And so Fleet's work was very instrumental in my life, even though I never met him. He was deceased by the time I got into his work. But his books were massive for me. And as of most recent, Dr. Marvin Talski. And so Talski has been my mentor, who can be considered the godfather of tonal. And so we go into deep conversations once a week now. And so those have been my biggest current mentors. Sue Brown, obviously, was another big one. Ian Davis Tremaine in upper cervical work. Andy Forelli. Again, there's a long list. I took a lot of seminars in school and postgraduate, but that's a good start anyway. All right, and then for the last question here, your favorite book, current or past?
I had to think about that because I don't like to read. So a book that I got turned on in college was called by Jerzy Kosinski, Being There. It turned into a movie by Peter Sellers years later. But
cool.
That was powerful, in that it was a man who grew up his whole life till he was about 60 years old inside pretty much a castle. But then when the old man died and he was set free, he was pretty much in Harlem, and he was the gardener. And that's how he knew to do things in life, about equating everything is like working in the garden. So it was a very good story. And then when it turned into a movie, it was a good one too.
Awesome. One of the books that transformed me into thinking more about purpose and spirituality outside of a religious context was The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
That was I would say that's an amazing transformational book that caused a pivot point in my life. Since then, you can ask anybody that knows me. I'm a book fiend. You can almost guarantee there's a new book coming from Amazon every week.
Wow.
So yeah, so I read a lot, and a lot, part of that is because I travel a lot. So on planes are to me a great opportunity to read. Once I had kids, those opportunities are rare if you're not on a plane. But that's it for us today. Your live Q&A. It went deep in a lot of directions and got all the questions answered. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for being on, Katina, and for your contribution today.
Thank you. We love you a lot. Blessings to all.
Blessings. For those that are on, we are going to do the live event December 15th. There'll be a full day Saturday, and more than likely there will be a limited group on Friday, meaning like the first few people that sign up will have a special event that we'll do Friday night, but then full day Saturday will be our first live event for Equinox, December 15th in the Bay Area. You'll fly into Oakland or San Francisco. It'll be in Danville. Expect that event to drop sometime later this week. Also expect our PDFs for what's included in your referral packet to drop later today. We love you. Appreciate you. If you got any questions, please reach out to us. Until next time. Peace.
Thank you. You're awesome, Brett.
So are you. Love you.
Love you.